Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Tony Quintana. I'm the plant-based eating program manager with Animal Protection of New Mexico. We're honored tonight to welcome special guest Tina Archuleta. Tina is a tribal member of the Jemez Nation. She's a natural therapeutic specialist, licensed massage therapist, and doula in training. Her love for natural remedies and wellness has been the guiding force of her life's work. For the last 12 years, Tina has been actively promoting healthy eating and reclamation of wellness in her community. She's the owner of and founder of Itality, plant-based wellness. Her company's mission is to cultivate wellness in Native communities with locally sourced, organic, plant-based food. Welcome, Tina. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Well, thank you very much. I'm very honored to be sharing time with you all.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. You know, in preparation of tonight's webinar, we had a couple phone conversations, and just naturally, we always found ourselves having this really, rich dialogue. So hopefully we can recapture some of that tonight. Right before we dive into the conversation, I just want to share really quickly, take a minute to share a little background information and a few definitions to help frame our discussion. So tonight's webinar is part one of a three-part webinar series on intersectional veganism. This series aims to explore some of the ways that being vegan helps support other forms of activism and why it's important for animal rights activists to actively support other social justice movements. We at Animal Protection New Mexico are excited to offer this webinar series, and we're looking to deepen our understanding of what it means to stand in solidarity with those fighting to end systemic racism. So this isn't just a conversation for vegans or just a conversation for animal rights folks, or for people doing other social justice work. This is literally a conversation for all of us to come together and look at how our various movements, how our different work intersects, and how these different forms of oppression are all interconnected. Right, so just a few definitions so kind of we can wrap our minds around what we're talking about with intersectional veganism. Veganism could be defined as a way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as is possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals. That could be for food, clothing, or any other purpose. There are many ways to embrace vegan living. And I really like this definition because there's a lot to unpack here, as there should be. And it includes that statement of as far as is possible and practicable, right? Because we don't live in a perfect world. And we need to recognize that each one of us has our own individual experiences, resources, culture, background, communities, etc. And so, at Animal Protection of New Mexico, our mission is to make humane the new normal and end cruelty to animals. We promote plant-based eating as one way to embrace that way of living and to see that outcome. And as there are many other ways to embrace that as well. Intersectionality, that term was actually coined by a Black feminist in 1989 named Kimberly Crenshaw, because she saw that Black voices were not being, listened to and honored in the feminist movement. And, hence the need to magnify, amplify their voices and look at the different ways that, white women experience, the differences between, among white women's experiences and Black women's experiences within the feminism movement. And so basically, we can use it to describe interconnectedness of seemingly disparate forms of inequality. Right now, when we put those two terms together and talk about intersectional veganism, we don't want to define that. We want to all define that together. Hopefully this conversation and this webinar series can help us do that. Right? So that's pretty much all I want to say about that. And I want to mention to everybody joining us, if you have questions or comments as we go along, please put those in the Q&A section or in the chat section. Use those boxes. We will be monitoring those and, you know, trying to answer questions in real life if they're relating to what we're talking about, or if there's time at the end, we want to answer questions as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and kind of get started with our conversation. Tina, do you want to start just by telling us a little bit about Itality and what you do?
Okay, great. So my business is called Itality, plant-based wellness. And I started my business, this particular business, in 2018. And I started it just to address the lack of plant-based and healthier food options in my community. So I live in Jemez, up in the Jemez Mountains, and you know, there's not too many options as far as plant-based goes up here. So the way I started my business was I approached the local gas station in my community, and I told them, you know, I was just like, hey, I noticed you guys have a health fridge, you know, but it's not too healthy. And I proposed that they let me stock their fridge with prepared foods. So they were open. We did we had a meeting, a sampling. I made a bunch of food and they were excited. They wanted to go with it. The tribe in Jemez is also trying to, you know, just create a culture of wellness up here. So they were with it, and I started providing them with prepared foods, and it was really great. It was salads, fruit salads, just different stir fries, and people really appreciated that. And that's how I started my business. And from there, I got into the Native Entrepreneur in Residence program, and that's through New Mexico Community Capital. And they helped me just to, you know, kind of visualize my business more and put my name out there to different organizations. And everyone was just really open in the community, very welcoming. And that from that, it went into catering and pop-ups, and now I'm here. But I should also mention that before the this business, Itality, I was also doing work in my community for the past decade with food. It wasn't a business, a packaged business, a packaged brand, but I was out there selling my food and just kind of exposing people to newer options or older options, however you want to look at it.
Or older, right? Yeah, that's awesome. That's beautiful. And so, you know, like you were talking about, I love kind of what you do, making, you know, increasing people's access. You know, out there in Jemez, there's no grocery stores, there's no place people can shop that's, you know, close to where you're at, besides a gas station where you could typically get, you know, hot Cheetos or something like that. So, I mean, that's revolutionary, putting healthy foods in the gas station where people can access it.
Right. Yeah, it was totally great. And, you know, I also want to mention there is sometimes, you know, there is the Red Rock stands, and a lot of people pass through there. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you can find some vegan options there. You just kind of have to ask around and ask the cooks directly, you know, what kind of ingredients they're using. And sometimes you'll be surprised and very overjoyed that you can eat at those Red Rock stands in Jemez. So I just want to point out that sometimes there's plant-based food available.
Yeah, shout outs to them. We have an awesome question that we can maybe talk more about. It says, love this point of newer versus older options. Can you talk more about this?
Yeah, so I said that because, you know, I was thinking all these new, I said new options, and in reality, sometimes it's beans and corn and squash and the fundamental Puebloan diet of Three Sisters is plant-based, so I can't really claim that this is something new when those are foundation foods.
Mhm. But they're new to a lot of
I hope
people.
that answers that.
Yeah, but when
Yeah, some
changed over time, and so it is a new way of thinking, right?
right.
Beautiful. And so with Itality, I kind of want to just ask you too, talk about the name, where you got the name from.
Okay, yeah. So a big part of my journey was through Rastafari and Rastafari living and living that way of life and eating ITAL food. So it's a I statement. It's a it's like the word natural, but you put a I in front, just like the word vital would be ital, and it kind of reflects a statement back towards self. And so there was a whole way of living, a whole way of life already in place that helped me to step into my plant-based journey, and that was ital, italivity, and ital living. So it only made sense to pay reverence to that part of my journey, and to also make mention that, you know, this is something that's not really new, and plant-based is also ital. So just kind of put that into effect and just went with it, just rolled with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I love it. And somebody recently wrote to me and asked if there was a typo in your company's name on our website or on one of our flyers. And I
Oh,
down
yeah,
for that. Like, oh, it's this plus this, and then they were like, oh, I just learned something today.
right. Yeah, just like a I term, like vitality, but kind of accepting the responsibility in a sense, like itality. And yeah, I really like that somebody learned something new from a typo.
Yeah. Um, what challenges have you experienced offering vegan options? Another question that we just got. Do you get pushback from
Um,
what you're offering?
um, I mean, I there's people who aren't interested. You know, there's people when I'm out there posted up who just walk by, who maybe just kind of go like, you know, but those are the people who just aren't ready. But for the majority of the time, my community is really open to trying. Sometimes they might be afraid to try something new. I think that's with anyone. But my community seems really open right now. People have been really open, accepting to trying what I have to offer. I also am somebody who doesn't use, I don't use mock meats.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not so like, I think that is kind of intimidating for people who are, or I'm not sure. I think also sometimes that's a good step in. But sometimes I think that makes people question. So it's just plants, you know, I tell people it's just plant food, and I remind people that we've always ate plant-based foods, and in a sense we've lived in a plant-based way throughout millennia, and it's just plants. But of course, you know, there's people who aren't who aren't open, or there's those ones.
Right.
Yeah, I hope that covers that in a way.
Yeah, definitely. And so when I was looking at Itality's website and reading about it, I really like your core values, especially about earth ethics and plant wisdom. So I was wondering if you could talk about those a little bit and break it down.
Yeah, so plant wisdom, you know, is you could break that down to the nutritional content of the plant, and that knowledge that each plant holds, and that medicine that each plant holds. So to me, that's a plant wisdom. It holds a certain frequency, and it knows, you know, it knows its medicine, and I trust that plant wisdom, that plant nutrient, that plant memory and frequency. I, you know, kind of like in nature, you know, so I'll just talk about earth ethics, and then maybe I can go back into that. But so earth ethics is just a way of living in balance with the earth in an ethical way. You want to be respectful, you know, we don't want to litter, we don't want to damage the earth. And that's just kind of goes into being mindful about how we're living, and are we living in an ethical way, in an earth ethical way. So how I eat, I see it as earth ethics. Just being that, you know, the impact it has on the environment is not as extreme as the dairy industry or the factory farm meat industry. It's about eating ethically, eating locally, indigenous, organic, also using compostable things when I can. I try not to use a lot of plastic ware, anything like that, no styrofoam. And to me, that just goes into earth ethics. And when we treat things like that ethically, the earth, you know, she's us, we are the earth. So, you know, you're really just treating the earth how you want to be treated. So I'm just viewing the earth as a living thing, just like living foods. Like all these plants are all living things, living beings with knowledge to share, right? So that's how I kind of came up with that. But thank you for taking a look at my core values on my page. And I welcome everyone to visit my website and read those core values. It's italitynm.com. And those core values, you know, when I was making my website, you know, you have this template of what you're supposed to put in, and I just have this hard time writing about myself. And so I just said, you know, let me just tell people my core values, what my business foundation is. Let me just be open and tell people what those foundations are. And yeah, so please check them out and let me know if you have any more questions about that.
The core values speak a lot to me, especially when I'm looking at, you know, what organizations or businesses I want to support. And so, and you know,
Right.
within these earth ethics, you know, animal rights are tied into that too, right?
Exactly. Yes, because the meat industry, just how much pollution they're causing for the earth, how much damage that's causing on the earth is unethical. And, you know, we don't want to live that way. So if people could see it like that, you know, if people want to protect the earth, if people care about the environment, then you really have to look at how you're eating and how you're living, and if you're a part of the problem, or are you a part of the solution. So totally.
Right. And the plant wisdom too, not to spend too much time on these things, I'm just really into, you know, these two parts of the core values, but I just find it fascinating. You know, I've learned a lot from you. I shared an article in the event page when you were showing how to make tea with pine needles. You know, if you understand the plants, we have all this medicine and nutrition all around us all the time that just kind of grows, you know,
Exactly.
in our backyard. So that's a beautiful thing. And I find it interesting too, because I had attended a lecture about plant-based wellness that was given by an indigenous woman a few years back. And she was sharing, talking about plant wisdom too, and how, you know, now today the USDA and the government pushes cow's milk on us, and always has this narrative about how important it is for our bone health, and you have to have cow's milk for these certain nutrients, you know. And she talked about, well, what did indigenous people do before we had cow's milk everywhere? And you breaking down the nutritional components of it, and she broke down the nutritional components of blue corn mush with juniper ash. And when you break it down, you see the calcium, you see the magnesium, all these things that the government is telling us we need cow milk for. You know, it's always been part of their diets. It's just fascinating, and I'm sure we could talk about that for an entire hour about all the different ways, you know, that you can get all of your nutrients and nutrition from plants with that plant wisdom.
Yeah, totally. And even without, books or modern science, our ancestors knew what they were receiving. For example, hominy, the nixtamalized corn, hominy, pasoli, with beans together, eaten together, is a complete protein. And so just that alone, you're going to be fine. And I don't know about the vitamin D from milk, because there's vitamin D from the sun. But I also want to point out that our ancestors, the only way to get vitamin C is from a plant source. That's the only way. And you needed vitamin C to survive. So there was a lot of plant resources, and the food pyramid really took away a lot from Native people. I was at the Native American Food Sovereignty Alliance gathering in Taos last year, and there was a Taos woman, elder, and she was telling us, how much they forage. She's like a master forager up there in Taos. And she was telling us about how much they used to forage growing up. And then she remembers when the food pyramid got introduced to the community, and she remembers the feelings she had because she didn't see her native foods on the food pyramid. And she mentioned that she felt a little bit upset, maybe, that her family wasn't feeding her right. And it was just really backwards. And that old food pyramid is just too much, and even not listing any other protein sources is just like, they just have all those red meats and their chicken stick, and they don't have like beans or nuts or even piñons or so yeah, that really got into people's minds of what is appropriate and what is necessary and what's healthy. So yeah, you're totally right. We could go on that one, but yeah, that food pyramid. But the new power plate is pretty cool. You've seen that, right? Like the power plate that they're promoting, and they have like dairy off on the circle. So it's so funny. I feel like the dairy industry just like paid to like have their circle attached to the plate. But it looks a little better now. It has more vegetables, and that's exciting.
Yeah, they cleared it so that you could interpret it and, put your own foods in there. You are right about that little dairy being on there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just interesting how you word it, that the food pyramid took so much away from the Native community. Because, I mean, I feel this way. I feel strongly, actually, about even the My Plate having the dairy on there, because they're telling all Americans, it's a blanket statement that all Americans should have 3 servings of dairy a day. knowing that lactose intolerance disproportionately affects people of color, primarily Black people and Native people.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and even before that, the whole just what was considered food and what not, and also what was taken away. Like some foods were even taken away. For example, amaranth was made like illegal by the Spanish, and they burned it, and they got rid of amaranth for a long time. And so that's just being reintroduced to a lot of Native people, or not to some. I'm not speaking for like all Native people, but I know that some people that I've met, I've actually served them amaranth for the first time. And and every encounter I have almost becomes like this learning experience. And I tell people, like, well, this is actually native to our area, and this is a native food, and it's a great source of protein. And yeah, so just kind of remembering and reintroducing is what I like to do, and what I like to help my community to do as well. Because there's a lot of foods that are still new to me that were native, and so that are native, are indigenous, they're all around me. And so I've been really trying to take the time to get out there and harvest, collect, and eat the plant foods that are all around us. And in a way, that's the most earth ethical thing we can do, because you're cutting down on the travel from of the food, where it's coming from, the packaging, everything. And then all these plants where we're out in our region specifically are drought tolerant, so we're not even having to water all these foods that are just growing. So
Yeah.
I think that's really beautiful. And I think going forward to the future, that's going to be really important. So I'm just trying to like learn all these plant foods and incorporate them into what I'm offering right now.
Beautiful.
I don't know if that went too far off.
No, that was great. And oh, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. When you were talking about, I don't know, I lost my train of thought. I was going to comment about that. Oh, when you were talking about foods, reintroducing foods that are, indigenous, or that you lost, that communities lost over time. Interestingly, especially in the vegan communities, we're seeing a lot of these foods being kind of reintroduced as a new thing. Like, check out this new superfood, amaranth, that, and it's
yeah
same thing with chia seeds and, goji berries and all these foods that, indigenous communities have been eating forever. And people are acting like it's a new discovery, this new food. And we were talking about.
And it's also, oh yeah, we got a question, I guess. But I was just gonna mention that those foods now, they pop up like at Whole Foods, or like, for example, nopales. You find the pads at Whole Foods and it's so fancy, but right here there's a whole cactus patch. So and that's really funny to see all the time. And and just so it's about learning the processing. That's a big part of it, because even for me, it's like nobody, you got to research your own, or just go out there and try and learn about it, because it's about just making that food accessible to people who are just already, it's kind of in the DNA memory, right? So it's just about making that food that's already in their DNA memory accessible to them without having to pay like $10 at Whole Foods for it. And so there's a lot of revival happening right now in Native communities, which is really beautiful. A lot of plant revival, and I see a lot of people growing amaranth this year, and that was really cool. And just everything, corn, amaranth, everything, old seeds. This year I grew sunflowers, and that was really nice.
Yeah, I mean, just your Instagram.
Just to process that. Oh yeah, yeah. Thanks for mentioning that too.
I'm always watching on there what you're doing with sunflowers or with the you know, the cactus. What is it called that you are harvesting? I'm always just watching what you're
Oh
cooking.
yeah, the fruit. Yeah, yeah. I last year. So you know, we know raw vegan cheesecake. We know that. You know, we know the cashew like, and you know. So I was just one day just like, how can I make this more indigenous, more local? And I tried it out with piñons, and instead of strawberries, I just added prickly pear, and it was amazing. And so actually, I just recreated that today. It should be ready tomorrow. But yeah, so I made a piñon prickly pear cheesecake, and that it's so new, you know, like I'm still developing it, but I really, really look forward to sharing this one with everyone. And it was a good one. The prickly pear, yeah.
Yeah,
And everything right now, it's like everything prickly pear.
yeah.
But yeah,
It's everywhere.
thank you.
Try
I
to
know, I'm
get on the side of the
your
road.
mouth water.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's everywhere. And that's the thing, you know, just realizing that there's food everywhere. And one now that I'm learning more about it, it's really, you can't help but not notice it. And then also, like, I wanted just to mention a really cool thing. Like, so if you, I can talk with you guys because we're, I don't know if we're all vegan, but we're vegans. You guys, like, I wanted to talk about flax egg. You know, I don't know if everyone has ever made a flax egg, but I learned about a native flax that is native to our area. And I'm just so determined to go out and find this plant and hopefully harvest some native flax and make that really indigenous. You know, a lot of times vegan food seems far, like, or I think what vegan food has became, what this, like, you know, this fancy, only available at Whole Foods or in the city kind of thing. But vegan, I'm sorry, there's a car coming in, it kind of just threw me off. But I was just trying to mention that the flaxseed, the methods have really helped me. So that native flaxseed, what was I was mentioning the flaxseed, the vegan food. So, you know, when we say vegan, it kind of takes people away. And the only vegan food for a while that you could find in New Mexico was like Indian or Asian or something of a different culture. It wasn't like native vegan food. So I think the term might scare people off. So I try to make my food as indigenous as possible, like as local as possible. And then I can tell people that, you know, no, this is a plant that was grown here and this is how I processed it. But the flaxseed, so just that process of making a flax egg, you grind the seed and then you pour boiling water over it, hot water, you let it sit, you know, and then it gets real, like an egg, it gets real slimy. And I was reading this book about herbs of the Pueblo province, and there's this plant, I think it might be saltbrush. I'm not sure because I'm still learning, but it just had a simple, like, little sentence, and it said that Pueblo people, and this book's not written by Pueblo people, but it was, you know, done by people who did research maybe somehow. And there was a sentence that said this plant was used as a leavening agent. And that blew my mind, like a leavening agent, like an egg, you know, like a baking powder. So for years, I'm telling you, years, like 8 years, that's been in my mind, leavening agent, every time I see this plant. And I finally realized that I can process the seed like flax seed. And that's what I plan to do this year. And so I was just trying to mention that because like certain techniques of vegan cooking have allowed me to learn how to process plants more and how to utilize them. So, you know, I would have, if I never ate flax eggs, I would have never realized that it's supposed to be processed the same way. So this fall, I'm totally going to go out and collect those seeds and process them like a flax egg and try and cook like anything, banana bread, and see if it rises. But yeah, thank you for letting me go off on that.
No, that's
spiel there.
That's beautiful. I love how you point that out. You know, how vegan living and vegan eating has opened you up to these new experiences, and you know that deepens your earth ethics, and you know bringing more knowledge, wisdom to your community, right? So we have some questions here that I want to get to, which are awesome. Have you experienced any changes to the availability of locally sourced food in recent months related to COVID-19 or any other issues relating to COVID-19?
Yeah, I have. In my community, you know, I was locally sourcing a lot of my foods from farmers from Jemez Pueblo. I was getting a lot of food from them. And right now my community is on lockdown still since March. It's been closed. There's no, nobody who lives outside of those Pueblo boundaries is allowed in. And all Pueblo people are just kind of like on lockdown right now. So it's kind of impacted like when I can get certain ingredients. I'm actually waiting for some red chili and some melons from a local native farmer, and he couldn't get out. He can only come out on Saturdays. And so it's just about aligning that. And really my business has been pivoting. So I haven't had a lot of inquiries for big catering events because of the lockdown. So I really haven't had a need to source any products or too many products.
Awesome. And then does climate change offer opportunities to share this plant and food knowledge with people?
Does climate change offer opportunities?
Maybe just as part of the about.
Yeah, I mean, people are aware, like, okay, we need to change something, we need to do something. And so that's an opportunity to open discussion about native foods. And I think there's already a lot of discussion happening around native foods and plant foods. So there's a big movement right now on that. And, you know, you could follow along, and that's what I do. And I'm just learning about ways that I can make my life more clean and more ethical for the earth.
Awesome. One more question. Have you thought about offering classes on how to forage for / harvest wild food?
Yeah, you know, it's about learning. I'm learning right now too. I'm in a mentorship program, the Native American Food Sovereignty Alliance mentorship program. And, you know, like my first assignment was to go out and forage some foods, and that's helping me to stretch and learn maybe in the future, I plan to always use my tools and return them to my community and help share that knowledge. So right now it's just about building up the skills, but everything I know I'll share. If you know, even I don't know a whole lot, but what I know I'll share. But yeah, any more questions from you, Tony?
Yeah, I do.
Any
I have
last?
enough questions to last us until like 10 o'clock at night, but we're gonna end at 7, you know, to respect everyone's time. But this is great dialogue, and you know, that's kind of the title of the talk tonight was, you know, a conversation about plant-based wellness, community health. We haven't been using the term community health
Oh, yeah.
specifically tonight, but everything we're talking about, like this is all part of community health, right? Building wellness and knowledge in the community, right? And so,
Yes.
do you have anything else just to say, kind of about how your work and, you know, these core values and so forth are related to community health?
Yeah, I mean, the foundation of why I started was to impact the health of my community. I know from my personal experience that eating plant-based has just been an infinite source of wellness for me. Personally, I just, you know, it changed my life for the better. I feel great. You know, it cleared up a lot of energy frequencies from foods in my life, and I just wanted to share that wellness with everyone. Like I see what people are eating. I see the effects, how they feel, the impacts on their health, and it's just like, you know, like it's like a secret or something. I'm just like, you know, I got this new thing, or so I'm just trying to share that with my community and impact the way we're eating, because I really feel that how you are what you eat, you feel it. We feel it in the food, and it's showing up, and it's not good. So it was all about just becoming healthier for me, and that's what it's kind of, that's why my core values are like that. It's about health, it's about wellness and the reclamation of that health, because we brought it up earlier, you know, a lot of those introduced foods are not ours. A lot of, and that's the standard American diet. It's not like, oh, you know, it's not like just my community. That's the standard American diet, and it's, we know it's trash.
It's sad. SAD, standard American.
It's sad.
Sad.
Yeah.
There is something I wanted to talk about, kind of that we brought up in our conversations these past weeks, which is the terms cruelty-free, you know, and compassionate living. These terms are used a lot, you know, by vegans and in vegan circles. And we were just breaking down a little bit how we could be more mindful of how we use those terms, what they really mean, you know, going deeper, like if your diet is vegan, does that mean by default that it's cruelty-free? You know, and so I'm just, you know, wondering if you could share some thoughts about that.
Yeah. I guess this is where a big intersection happens. You know, I think people look, you know, I don't even know where to start, but it's like cruelty free. I have something that's coming to mind. Cruelty free, like it makes me think of Thanksgiving, right? It makes me think of Thanksgiving last year. I think it may be PETA or some other. I saw it a lot, maybe in the vegan group. I'm a member of the vegan group, and they talk about cruelty-free Thanksgiving. And that was like it opened up a big, question. And it was like, on one side, I personally don't celebrate Thanksgiving. I don't celebrate that because it's not anything close to what they portray it to be. And because I don't want to celebrate and the genocide of Indigenous people, there's other days and other ways to be thankful in my life. And so I don't celebrate this day. And, it's a day of reverence. A lot of times I fast on that day. And so, and in vegan circles, I see cruelty-free Thanksgiving or compassionate Thanksgivings. And it's like, it's kind of a contradiction in a way from my eyes. How can you celebrate the genocide of a people in a compassionate way? Or, I know there's a lot attached to Thanksgiving in American culture. But, this is, I think, one of those intersections. And so, yeah, that's what came to mind when you mentioned that, is the compassionate Thanksgiving, when is celebrating Thanksgiving even compassionate, right? We're all concerned about the animals. We're all concerned about, but what about the people too? Like people who are hurt and affected by that day. And it's a very sad day. But yeah, I make the most of it, of course, always. And I give thanks every day. And, so yeah, let me know if we got some questions about that, or if you have any questions
Well,
from what I just said.
Somebody just commented that Thanksgiving and Canada Day should be celebrated, and everybody has their own, feelings about this. I've heard some friends, that tell me they don't celebrate, others that say it's a federal holiday, so that, I'll take advantage of the time to be with family, but I'm going to do it my own way, or it's not going to be Thanksgiving, it's going to be something different. But I think this is just a great, teachable moment, or just learning opportunity for us to look at that, and if people want to share information about how many turkeys are killed every year for Thanksgiving, that's cool. And you can also share information about how this is a painful day for a lot of people, or the truth about the history that's not being taught. This is where intersectional veganism comes into play. And it's not just about sharing how to cook a delicious vegan meal or how to keep meat off your plate, but also incorporating all these other aspects about how, people are impacted, right?
Right. And just showing that compassion, to take the time to learn about the Indigenous peoples where you reside. And, just to put that in perspective, we're not just one type of people. So I would just say, if you want to be compassionate, to take the time and to learn and to educate yourself as well. But, there's a lot of education in this world that needs to happen.
But this is,
even on my part, and I'm still learning.
Yeah, totally. Same.
Yeah, we're all here learning.
And we're putting a new meaning to the term compassionate Thanksgiving. Let's make that a thing this year. If you want to have a compassionate Thanksgiving, part of it is having the compassion to learn about the Indigenous communities in your area, taking the time to do the work and learn about history. That's part of the compassionate living, right? Thank you for sharing that. That was really good.
Yeah. Also, even Indigenous foods, because a lot of the foods that we eat in the world originated from the Americas. a lot of, and I remind a lot of people of that fact. I even remind a lot of my community and my tribal members and Native people that a lot of the world's foods are native to this region of the world. So not something so foreign, and just to take the time to learn about indigenous foods. But thank you for asking that question and just allowing us to kind of share at that intersecting point. So thank you. And I really appreciate all the work you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Sorry, there's a delay.
No worries. Thank you so much. So we have another question, great question too. Would you like more support for your efforts at Jemez Pueblo? And what else would you like to do that requires more resources?
Yeah, so, you know, I have a lot going on. I have a food trailer that I need to renovate right now. This will allow me to post up in rural New Mexico with plant-based foods. It will allow me to post up in food. Oh, okay. I was going to say food desert, but we're coming away from the term food desert. But it'll allow me to post up in food deserts. And so that's a big project I have going on. And then just supporting the efforts. You know, you could check out my website, italitynm.com, and I'll share a picture with you guys just real quick so you can have that information. But yeah, I have a couple projects going on, and I would just say support the works. It's not easy. Sometimes I think it's new to a lot of people, so I just need all the support I can get, and just that alone is really helpful. And I just wanted to share this for you guys, and that's my website if you wanted to check it out.
And you have
my social media, you can just, what's
you have
that?
some new projects coming up, or a new you know, products on there, right?
Oh yes, so I added a herbal supplement line. Just to my product offerings. Sorry, I lost you guys. And so yeah, just a few herbal supplements that I can, I originally added them so that I could put them into food distribution boxes to get out to Native families for COVID. I was trying to figure out how I could impact people far and help impact their health. So I added herbal supplements, and that's on my, that's gonna be on my website soon. And then another cool thing I just wanted to mention is that I just got accepted to be a stage presenter at Food Funded 2020. So Food Funded is a entrepreneur investor fair. So I got, I had to go through screening, and I got chosen to be a stage presenter. So this will allow me to, you know, pitch my efforts, pitch what I'm doing, talk about my business, and hopefully have some help come in, because I do have a lot in mind for where I see this vision going of what I'm doing. And hopefully I can find somebody to just lend me a hand with that. But yeah, please check out my website and like my page, follow me, share with your friends, and that alone is a lot of support.
Awesome. That's beautiful. Congrats on that. And yeah, hopefully that works out. We'll be cheering for you for sure.
Thank you.
So I think, you know, we'll kind of go ahead and wrap it up. Like I said, we could talk about this all night, but hopefully this was a good just conversation starter for people, you know, to look at what intersectional veganism means, what it means to, you know, stand in solidarity with others, to kind of expand our thinking about veganism, and expand our thinking about compassion, humane, you know, and these things that we strive for. So thanks again. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hopefully this webinar, you know, will continue to generate further discussions and explorations on how animal rights and human rights are interconnected. We have, just a friendly reminder, we have 2 more webinars in this series. We hope that you'll join us for those conversations as well. In the meantime, we'd love to hear, feedback, thoughts, comments or further questions. You can share them on social media and tag us, tag Animal Protection New Mexico and Itality, Plant-Based Wellness, or reach out to us and let's keep the conversation going.
Great. Thank you all. Have a good evening. Thank you, Tony. Thanks for all the good work you're doing. Absolutely. We all appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too. Take care.